I have an issue. I want to talk to this iPhone with a Nokia, but I don't know how. You see, programming is literally just problem solving, and my solution is WebSockets. But where did I find this WebSockets? I found it here. So it gives us like a table for what WebSockets is. It says it is a persistent single connection. The communication is bidirectional full duplex. What is a full duplex? A duplex communication system is a point-to-point system composed of two or more parties or devices that can communicate with one another in both directions. So basically, if you have like a Nokia and an iPhone contacting each other, that would be a duplex communication system, I would think. So a full duplex system makes it so that both parties can communicate simultaneously. New folder. Alright, we're gonna call this folder WS for WebSockets. Alright, now that we're in our WebSockets directory, let's open this in Visual Studio Code. Now, let us init our project. So, we have to do npm init and then -y. Okay, cool. We got our package.json. In the meantime, I'm gonna explain WebSockets better. Back in 1932, people had HTTP 1.0. With this protocol, if I wanted to send 3 messages to a friend, 3 connections would be opened then immediately closed. Then HTTP 1.1 came out, and that wasn't that great either. But then we got WebSockets. These WebSockets open a TCP/IP connection. A TCP/IP connection is simply a connection between 2 devices. When the connection is established, it is called a handshake. This is held until both parties disconnect. Alright, there is a normal WebSocket library, but I'm gonna use Socket.io. The reason for this is that I'm lazy. First, install one dependency, Socket.io. Then create 2 folders, a client folder and a server folder. In the server folder, we're gonna have a server.js file handling the HTTP server and Socket.io. Make sure that your Socket.io is installed in the server folder. In the client folder, we're gonna have a client.js file to handle user input and an index.html to set up the basic form for the user input. In the server.js file, use the built-in HTTP package that's in Node.js to create a web server. Then, bind the web server to Socket.io. The cross-origin resource thing right there is just to make it so that there aren't any errors when trying to connect to this server. Now we'll use the io.on function to control what happens when someone does something on the server. So when the client joins, it's gonna console log that the client is connected to the socket. And when someone emits a message or sends a message, we call the io.emit function to, emit the message. We'll finally listen on port 1650 with the http.listen function. In the index.html file, make sure to make a script tag that links the CDN for Socket.io. And then make another script tag for our client.js file. In the body, make sure to have an empty unordered list, and then put an input and a button to send the message. Now use Socket.io to connect to our WebSocket. Notice how we have the ws:// instead of HTTP. That's for the WebSockets. Now when someone sends a message, we're going to call the socket.on function. Then it's going to create the text message. First it's going to create an element in the list. Then the inner HTML of the element is going to be the text message, so it's going to display the text message. And then it's going to append this new element to our unordered list. Now to handle the button click, we're going to take the text that's in our inputs and emit it with our message. In the server directory, run the server file. Now pull up 2 instances of our index.html file. Okay, let's test it out. Let's type hi and then send. It works. Here you can see that we were able to successfully connect to the socket twice. So, yeah, that's Socket.io and a very simple implementation of it. Of course, in the real world, there are gonna need to be many more features, but this isn't the real world. If you like this video, consider subscribing. And if you didn't, still subscribe.